This is the mini macrame wall hanging tutorial. In this tutorial, we'll focus on practicing diagonal double half hitch knots, one of the most common knots used in modern macrame. Start by measuring your stick to make sure it's an appropriate size. The first time I made this project, I used a 14-inch branch. This time I have a 16-inch branch. We're going to start with the middle section of this piece. You'll need 4 cords, 2 meters each. So find the middle of your branch and mark it somehow. I just kind of make a small dent with my nail. You're going to attach all 4 cords around the center of the branch using lark's head knots. Fold the cord in half, pass the looped end over the top of your branch and then under. Pull the loose ends through the loop and tighten. Now we'll start with our diagonal double half hitch going to the left and to the right. A double half hitch always has a filler cord. This cord on the far right is going to be our filler cord. Your filler cord should never bend. It just kind of holds the shape of what we're going to make. So it's almost like the spine or the backbone of what we're making. So hold the filler cord in your left hand, grab the next cord with your right hand, and wrap it around the filler cord. Pull it through the loop. Keeping the filler cord straight at all times, tighten the knot by pulling the cord in your right hand up to your left. This is a half hitch. Now we're going to repeat the same thing again to make a double half hitch. Use the same cord, wrap it around toward the left again, and pull it up through the loop. Keeping the filler cord straight, tighten the cord in your right hand up to the right. So now we're going to move to the next cord. Tie another double half hitch with this one. Always keep your filler cord at the angle that you want your shape to go. And then finally, this is the last cord that we're going to tie a double half hitch in this direction with. To tie a diagonal double half hitch going to the right, we need to do the same thing on this side, just mirrored. So grab the cord farthest to the left. This is your filler cord. Take the next cord and bring it behind to the left, over to the right, and through the hole. Tighten the knot up to the left. Again, always remember to keep your filler cord straight. Bring the cord over to the right, through the hole, pull it up to the left, keeping the filler cord straight. Remember to do this twice with every cord, otherwise it won't be a double half hitch. Because we're going in 2 different directions, this can sometimes get confusing, so feel free to practice, take it apart, try it again if you don't get it the first time. So now we're in the middle. We should have a V shape that's not connected in the center. So we're going to connect it by tying a double half hitch using the cord to the right as our filler cord and our left filler cord as the wrap cord. Bring the left filler cord under to the right, over to the left, and through the loop. Pull it to the right. Now we're going to create our second layer. So use the cord on the far left as your filler cord. Tie double half hitch knots with the next 2 cords. Now going back to the right side, use your right side filler cord as the filler cord and tie a double half hitch in the other direction with your last filler cord as the wrap cord. So continue to tie diagonal double half hitch knots all the way down to the left. Back up on the right, use the farthest right cord as your filler cord and tie double half hitch knots using the next 6 cords. When you're finished, you should have 2 cords sticking out on the left-hand side and 6 cords sticking out on the right, creating sort of a lowercase y shape. So now we need to finish the rest of the X and then create the loop underneath. So take the third cord from the right, use that as your filler cord. The next two cords on the right you'll use to tie a double half hitch going down to the right. Now use the middle cord just under that last one to do two more double half hitch knots going down to the right. Now you should have an X shape. To create the loop, we're going to use the same filler cords, but just change the direction. Now take the middle right cord and tie a double half hitch going down toward the left. Take the cord just to the right of that one and tie a double half hitch going down to the left. Now we're going to do the same thing with the innermost filler cord on the left-hand side, but going in the opposite direction. Now we're going to use these two filler cords to kind of outline that shape. Take your other filler cord on the right and tie two diagonal double half hitch knots down toward the left. Looks like I forgot to attach it in the center. So on this one, we're making it overlap on the right. So you want to use the center filler cords to create a double half hitch going down toward the left. Now you can do the third diagonal double half hitch with the other filler cord. We'll repeat this on the left side. And then we're going to continue the double half hitches down to the left with the two right filler cords. So now we're just going to create one more loop exactly like we just did. So to close off the loop at the end, you're going to take the filler cord farthest to the right and use the filler cord just to the left of it to tie a diagonal double half hitch. Ending it this way gives it more of a fluid finish rather than just kind of closing off harshly with just two open ends there. So now we're pretty much finished with the center of our macrame wall hanger. We just need to tie off the bottom using a wrap knot. So take one of your longer cords and wrap it around a bunch of times. I think I'd wrap it like 10 times here. And then at the very end, you're just going to tie a double half hitch using the bunch as your filler cord to keep that wrap knot secure. Then you can go through and stretch it out to make sure that the knots settle evenly. If you finish the middle section without problems, the next two sections should be really easy for you. Tie 4 cords that are 3.5 meters a few inches to the left of your centerpiece using a lark's head knot. So we're going to be working on the left side pattern here. Use the 4th cord from the right as your filler cord. Tie 4 double half hitch knots going diagonal down toward the left. Now take the 4th cord from the right. It should be sticking out of what you just did. So use that one as the filler cord for 3 diagonal half hitch knots going down toward the right. Now let's turn it around and go back the way that we came. Using the same filler cord, take the right middle cord and start your double half hitch going down toward the left. Then take the next cord to the right, do the same thing, and then finally take the last cord on the right and tie a double half hitch. Now we'll do the same thing going the opposite direction on the other side. Once we get to the middle, use the filler cord on the right and the filler cord on the left to wrap a double half hitch knot around the filler cord on the right. And then continue double half hitch knots going diagonal down toward the left. Now the 4th cord on your right is going to be your filler cord for the diagonal double half hitch knots going down toward the right. Now repeat the same thing that you did for the first loop. Close it off using your right filler cord as your filler cord, and repeat this loop 2 more times. Again, with this section, you can stretch it out, make sure your knots are even. And now we're going to repeat the same thing on the other side. So grab a ruler and measure the space between your 2 sections that you've already created, and start tying your lark's head knots on the right-hand side the same distance from the center as the ones on the left-hand side. So for me, it's about 3 inches. So I just marked that space, and now I'm going to start tying my lark's head knots with my remaining 4 cords. That should be 3.5 meters each. So this time, instead of starting with the 4th cord to the right, we're going to start with the 4th cord to the left and start our diagonal half hitch knots going down toward the right. So this is basically going to be a mirror image of what we have on the left-hand side. So everything's exactly the same until we get here. So now we're going to use the filler cord on the left as the filler cord and use the filler cord on the right as the wrap cord and continue our diagonal line down toward the right instead of down towards the left, which is what we did on the other side. So again, if you look at it, it should just be a mirror image of what you have on the left-hand side. So just continue these loops until you have 4, making sure that the filler cord on the left is the one that's overlapping. So now we're going to create this shape down here and attach the 2 sides in the center. Pick up the 4 middlemost cords on either side. We're going to tie a right-facing square knot using these 4 cords. So this might be kind of tough to do. You'll have to sort of maneuver it a little bit and then even it out once you're finished. So pinch the 4 cords in the middle, take the 2 cords on the right, pass them over the 4 middle cords, take the 2 cords on the left, pass them over the right cords, behind the 2 middle cords, and then through the loop, tighten it and even it out. So now you have a half square knot. Now take the 2 cords sticking out on the left, pass them over the 4 middle cords, and take the 2 cords sticking out on the right, pass them over the end of the 2 cords from the left, behind the 4 middle cords, and through the loop, and then tighten it. So here's a quick tutorial on right-facing square knots in case you're not familiar. Start by holding the cord farthest to the right in your right hand and make sort of a letter P. What I like to do is pinch the 2 middle cords with the right cord, keep them in place. Then pick up your left cord, cross it over the tail of the P, behind the 2 middle cords, and through the loop. This is a half square knot. Now we do the other half by repeating the same thing in the other direction. So hold the farthest left cord in your left hand and make the number 4. Pass the right cord over the tail of the 4, behind the 2 middle cords, and then through the loop. And now pull it tight. So this is a right-facing square knot because of this little knot that's sticking out right here on the right-hand side. All right, let's get back to it. So take your filler cord from the left and start tying diagonal double half hitch knots on the next 4 cords until you get to the center, going diagonally down toward the right. Now use the filler cord on the right and create a diagonal double half hitch with the next 4 cords until you get to the middle, going down toward the left. When you get to the middle, attach the 2 of them together using a double half hitch, and it doesn't matter which side you use. I'm using the filler cord from the right. Okay, now comes the scary part. I measured about 3 inches from the bottom. You could probably get away with 4. And that is where I'm going to start trimming the extra fringe on the ends. So I'm going to cut 3 inches on this side, and then 3 inches on this side. And now I'm going to take all the cords on the left and I'm going to cut a diagonal line. And then I'll do the same thing on the right in the other direction. You want to try and make them as even as possible. So if you need to make them a little bit longer, like 4 or 5 inches, that's totally fine. Now taking the extra that you just cut, line them up as evenly as possible on the floor, measure to 10 inches, and cut as many 10-inch pieces as you can get out of the leftover cords that you just trimmed off your project. Now we're going to fold each of these 10 pieces in half and attach them to the outer loops of the outer pieces using lark's head knots. So each little section is going to have 4 pieces of fringe on it, except for the section up at the top, it will only fit 2. So fold them in half and tie front-facing lark's head knots around the loops that are sticking out of each of the sections on either side. They might not look even as you're going, but we'll trim it up at the end, so don't stress too much about that. If you haven't already cut this guy off, you can go ahead and do that. Now I'm going to take it back to the floor and comb out the fringe. I usually use a dog brush to do this, but you can use any kind of comb or brush that you have. And this takes a while, so be patient. So now I'm going to go through and trim up the ends as best I can. And then don't forget to comb out the fringe on the middle piece. Hang it up, trim it up a little bit more, and you're done. And you can tie one of the extra cords that you have from the center piece onto the top so that you can hang it, and then you're pretty much done. So you can see the difference in sizes of these two things based on the size of the stick that I used. So just keep that kind of thing in mind when you are creating this project. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll do my best to help you out.